Montego Bay, Jamaica. A coastal paradise where turquoise waves kiss white sand. Reggae drifts through the air, and life seems to move to the rhythm of love. It was here that Dwayne and Alicia Campbell's story began. They met 5 years earlier at a community fundraising event. Dwayne was the outgoing one, a tall, easygoing tour guide who made everyone laugh with his island charm. Alicia was quieter, a nurse with gentle eyes and a heart too kind for her own good. Their connection was instant, as if the universe itself had planned their meeting. Friends remember the spark vividly. Dwayne was captivated by her kindness, and Alicia said she felt safe with him, something rare in a world that often felt uncertain. Soon they became inseparable. Weekends were spent on the beaches of Negril, sunsets at Doctor's Cave, and long night drives through the Montego Bay Hills. They were young, passionate, and full of dreams. By 2023, they had built a modest but happy life together. Dwayne worked as a private tour guide for cruise passengers and tourists, known for his humor and charm. Alicia had just been promoted at the local hospital, a nurse dedicated to her patients, always the one to stay late if someone needed her. Those who knew them described their relationship as intense. They loved deeply, but they also argued often, the kind of fiery passion that burned both ways. Sometimes Dwayne's jealousy showed. If Alicia was on her phone too long, he'd ask who she was texting. If a male coworker complimented her, he'd grow quiet, withdrawn. Alicia brushed it off as his way of loving too much. Then came the wedding, small, intimate, and beautiful. It was held in Alicia's mother's backyard, surrounded by flowers and family. Dwayne, wearing a crisp white suit, couldn't take his eyes off her. When she walked down the aisle, guests said his expression softened like a boy seeing the sun for the first time. "From this day forward," he said during his vows, "I'll love you through everything good or bad." No one could have imagined how those words would come to haunt them. After the wedding, the couple planned their honeymoon trip to Grand Cayman, the Caribbean island known for its turquoise waters and luxury resorts. For both of them, it was a dream destination. Alicia had never been off the island before. Dwayne wanted to show her the world beyond Jamaica's shores. They booked a 5-night stay at the Coral Sands beachfront resort, a quiet, romantic getaway far from the noise of the main strip. Alicia was thrilled. She even created a small honeymoon scrapbook, filled with printed photos and handwritten notes. On the morning of their flight, Alicia's mother hugged her tight at the airport. "Enjoy every moment," she said. Alicia smiled, unaware those would be her mother's last words to her. As the plane lifted off from Montego Bay, the couple held hands, gazing out at the sea below. To everyone who saw them, they were the picture of happiness, two newlyweds beginning a lifetime together. But sometimes the most beautiful stories hide the darkest secrets. And for Dwayne and Alicia Campbell, the paradise they dreamed of would soon turn into a place of horror. The sun blazed over the turquoise horizon as Dwayne and Alicia Campbell stepped off their flight in Grand Cayman. It was everything they had imagined: palm trees swaying, crystal clear water, and a gentle breeze that carried the scent of salt and summer. The newlyweds were greeted at the airport by a friendly local driver who held a small sign reading, "Mr. and Mrs. Campbell Coral Sands Resort." Alicia laughed softly, blushing at the title. "Mrs. Campbell?" she repeated, trying the name on her tongue like it was something precious. Dwayne squeezed her hand. "You better get used to it, baby," he joked. Their resort sat on the quiet stretch of 7 Mile Beach, a postcard-perfect paradise. Coral Sands wasn't large, just 20 luxury rooms facing the ocean, with white hammocks and a private cove that looked like something out of a travel magazine. As they checked in, the receptionist congratulated them. "Newlyweds?" she asked with a smile. "Just married," Alicia beamed. "Then welcome to paradise," the woman replied. "You'll never want to leave." For the first few days, everything was bliss. They explored the island hand in hand, snorkeling among stingrays, visiting the Cayman Turtle Center, and taking sunset walks down the beach. Their social media was filled with laughter and love. "Forever starts here, Redheart," Alicia captioned one photo of them clinking glasses at dinner. Locals and tourists alike noticed how deeply they seemed to adore each other. To the world, they were just another couple in love. But behind the smiles, small cracks had begun to show. It started with a harmless incident. On their second night, Alicia received a message while they were at dinner. Her phone buzzed, lighting up with the name Dr. Wayne, her senior colleague from the hospital. The message read, "Hope you're having a great honeymoon, Nurse Campbell. Don't forget the sunscreen." Grinning face with smiling eyes, Dwayne's mood changed instantly. He stared at her, his jaw tightening. "Who's texting you this late?" he asked. Alicia laughed nervously. "It's just my coworker. He's old enough to be my father." "Still," Dwayne muttered, "a man doesn't text a married woman at night." Alicia sighed. She knew his jealousy, but she thought it was harmless, even cute at times. She reached across the table, holding his hand. "You're my husband now, Dwayne. You don't have to worry about anyone else." He smiled faintly but didn't say much more. The next morning, she noticed him scrolling through her phone while she showered. When she asked why, he said, "Just checking the time." She didn't argue. She wanted to keep the peace. That evening, they joined a group of tourists for a boat excursion to bioluminescent bay. Under the moonlight, the water glowed with millions of tiny blue lights, a sight that left everyone speechless. Dwayne wrapped his arm around her and whispered, "This is it, babe. Just you and me forever." Alicia smiled, though her thoughts wandered. Sometimes his words felt more like a promise, and other times a warning. On their third day, the couple spent hours lounging by the pool. Alicia chatted with a few guests, while Dwayne kept mostly to himself, watching her from afar. Later that afternoon, a staff member recalled hearing them arguing quietly in their cabana. She said something about trust, the staffer later told police. He said something like, "You make me look like a fool." By sunset, the argument seemed forgotten. They posted another photo online, smiling, drinks in hand. "Cheers to love and new beginnings," the caption read. But beneath those smiles, both knew something wasn't right. That night, Alicia called her sister back home. Her voice was low, almost whispering. "Everything's fine," she said, though she didn't sound convinced. "Dwayne's just being Dwayne. You know how he gets." Her sister laughed lightly. "He's protective. That's love." Alicia hesitated before replying. "Yeah," she said softly. "Love." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the Campbells walked along the quiet beach, their footprints side by side in the sand. To any stranger watching, they were the image of romance. But for Alicia, the paradise she once dreamed of was beginning to feel more like a gilded cage. And by the next few days, that cage would shatter, in blood, silence, and screams that would echo across the island. The third evening on Grand Cayman began like any other. Golden lights spilling across the sea, soft music drifting from the resort's bar, and couples laughing over tropical cocktails. But for Dwayne and Alicia Campbell, paradise was slowly starting to unravel. That morning, they had taken a taxi to Rum Point, one of the island's most beautiful beaches. Tourists described seeing them taking selfies, sharing coconut water, and even laughing together. On the surface, they looked happy, but a closer look told another story. Dwayne's tone was sharper now. He questioned everything: why she smiled at the bartender, why she kept her phone close, even why she wanted to stop at a local market. First, Alicia brushed it off. "You're acting silly," she said playfully. "We're on our honeymoon, Dwayne." But he wasn't smiling. "You just seem distracted," he said, "like your mind's somewhere else." By afternoon, the tension grew thicker. The couple returned to the resort and skipped lunch. Staff later said they heard muffled arguing from room 214, the same room that would soon become infamous across the island. A housekeeping attendant named Maria Lopez recalled standing outside their door that day. "I could hear her crying," Maria told investigators. She kept saying, "You're hurting me with your words, Dwayne." Maria knocked softly, pretending she needed to check the minibar, but no one answered. The door remained locked. That evening, Alicia came out alone, wearing sunglasses though it was nearly dusk. She ordered a drink at the bar, a simple piña colada. The bartender, noticing her quiet demeanor, asked if everything was all right. She forced a smile. Yes, everything's fine, she said. Just tired. But the tremble in her voice told another story. A few minutes later, Dwayne appeared. His expression was cold, his eyes fixed on her. Without saying a word, he took her drink, placed it down, and whispered something that made her face fall. They left the bar together in silence. The next morning, Alicia sent a short message to her sister in Jamaica. Wish you were here. Dwayne's been acting strange, but I think it's just stress. I'll call tomorrow. That call never came. The resort staff began to take notice. They were no longer the affectionate newlyweds everyone admired. At breakfast, Dwayne sat in silence, scrolling through his phone while Alicia stared out at the ocean. At the pool, they sat apart, him in the shade, her by the water. Guests described the air around them as tense, like a storm waiting to break. That evening, Alicia tried to lighten the mood. She suggested a romantic dinner, something to bring back the spark. They made a reservation at the resort's seaside grill, a candlelit restaurant overlooking the shore. For a while, it seemed to work. The waiter, Andre Williams, later testified that they were laughing again, toasting their glasses. They looked fine, Andre said. But sometimes, it's the quiet couples you have to worry about. They hide the most. Halfway through dinner, Alicia's phone buzzed again. It was another message from her coworker, the same harmless man who had texted before. This one read, "Hope you're enjoying your trip. The hospital misses your smile, grinning face with smiling eyes." Dwayne saw the notification flash across her screen. His expression darkened instantly. "Why's he texting you again?" he asked, voice low but trembling. "It's nothing," she said, putting the phone down. "He's just being friendly." "Friendly?" Dwayne scoffed. "You're my wife, Alicia. He needs to know that." "Dwayne, please." "Not here." But it was too late. The energy shifted. Witnesses noticed the couple's sudden silence. Alicia's face stiffened. Dwayne's hand clenched around his glass. When the waiter returned with dessert, they declined. The romantic dinner was over. They left quietly, walking back toward room 214. Security cameras captured the two entering the corridor at 9:47 p.m. It would be the last time anyone saw Alicia alive. At 10:15 p.m., guests in nearby rooms reported hearing raised voices. A woman shouting, something crashing, and then silence. One guest called the front desk, saying, "It sounds like someone's fighting. You might want to check it out." Security was sent to investigate, but when they arrived, the room door was locked, and everything seemed quiet again. Assuming the couple had reconciled, they left. No one knew that inside room 214, a tragedy was already unfolding. A storm that had been building since the first day they arrived. And before sunrise, Paradise would become a crime scene. The air over 7 Mile Beach was heavy that night. Still, quiet, almost unnervingly calm. Inside room 214, however, the storm that had been brewing between Dwayne and Alicia Campbell finally exploded. It was shortly after 10:30 p.m. when another guest, staying directly above them, heard the first loud noise, something shattering, followed by a woman's cry. "I thought someone had dropped a bottle," the guest later told police. "But then I heard a scream. A woman's scream. It didn't sound playful. It sounded like terror." Inside the room, chaos reigned. A wine bottle lay broken on the floor, red liquid spilling across the tiles like a prelude to what was to come. Dwayne was pacing furiously, his voice raised. "Who is he, Alicia?" Alicia, terrified and crying, tried to reason with him. "It's no one, Dwayne. I told you. It's just a friend from work." But logic was useless now. Jealousy had completely taken hold. Neighbors would later describe hearing muffled shouting, the sound of furniture being pushed, and something or someone slamming into a wall. Then came silence for nearly 2 full minutes. When the shouting resumed, it was softer, broken by sobs. Dwayne's voice could be heard saying, "You made me do this. You made me lose control." And then a final scream, a sharp, chilling sound that pierced the night and abruptly stopped. At 11:07 p.m., A couple walking the beach near the resort noticed a man stumbling through the sand. He was barefoot, shirt torn, and his hands appeared to be covered in something dark. The woman recalled, "He looked lost, like he didn't know where he was." I said, "Are you okay?" But he just kept walking toward the water. That man was Dwayne Campbell. Meanwhile, inside room 214, a horrific scene awaited discovery. Security, responding to a second noise complaint, arrived around 11:30 p.m. and knocked repeatedly. No answer. They could hear the faint sound of running water from inside. The decision was made to use the master key. When the door opened, the officers froze. Blood was everywhere. Alicia lay on the floor between the bed and the balcony, motionless, her white dress soaked in crimson. Beside her, a shattered wine bottle glistened under the dim light, and a kitchen knife from the minibar kitchenette lay several feet away. The sheets were torn, the room in shambles, the aftermath of a violent struggle. Officer Marlon Peters, one of the first responders, later described the moment. "You could feel it, the silence, like the room was still holding its breath. It wasn't just a murder scene. It felt like the room itself was crying." Paramedics arrived within minutes, but it was too late. Alicia was pronounced dead at the scene. Multiple stab wounds to the chest and abdomen, deep bruising along her arms, clear signs of defensive struggle. As police began sealing the area, word spread quickly through the resort. Guests gathered outside in disbelief, whispering, crying. The newlyweds who had arrived only days earlier, the couple everyone admired, had become the center of a nightmare. At 1 a.m., officers searching the beach found Dwayne, sitting on a rock near the waterline, covered in sand and blood. He was dazed, mumbling incoherently. One officer approached cautiously, flashlight in hand. "Sir, are you hurt?" Dwayne looked up, eyes glassy, voice trembling. "I didn't mean to," he whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt her." He was immediately taken into custody. At dawn, the once idyllic Coral Sands resort was transformed into a crime scene. Yellow tape fluttered in the wind. Police photographers moved quietly in and out of the room, and investigators took statements from shocked guests. The sound of the waves outside made the scene eerier, calm, almost mocking, against the violence that had unfolded just beyond the balcony doors. Local newspapers would soon call it the honeymoon horror at Coral Sands. For the small island of Grand Cayman, a place known for serenity and beauty, this was unthinkable. But the truth was only beginning to unravel. And as investigators dug deeper, they would discover that this tragedy didn't begin in Grand Cayman. It began long before, back in Jamaica, in the shadows of a love poisoned by jealousy and control. Morning sunlight crept through the shattered curtains of room 214, illuminating what was once a honeymoon suite, now a scene of horror. Detective Carla Jennings led the investigation. Inside, she found blood spatter on the walls, overturned furniture, and signs of a struggle that lasted several minutes. Alicia's phone lay on the floor, screen cracked but still glowing. The last message from her coworker visible. "Hope you're enjoying your trip." The knife recovered beside her body matched the resort's kitchenette set. Fingerprints confirmed it was Dwayne's. At the police station, Dwayne sat silently in a gray t-shirt, dried blood still on his hands. When detectives asked what happened, his voice was barely a whisper. "She lied to me. I just lost it. I loved her too much." The autopsy later revealed 8 stab wounds, most to the chest. Bruises on Alicia's arms showed she fought desperately for her life. Back in Jamaica, the news spread like wildfire. Jamaican nurse killed on honeymoon. Family and friends were shattered. Alicia's mother collapsed upon hearing the words no mother should ever hear. "Your daughter isn't coming home." And as Dwayne sat in his cell staring at the sea through iron bars, the same paradise that had once symbolized their love now stood as the graveyard of it. The investigation moved quickly. Phone records, fingerprints, and witness statements painted a clear picture. A jealous rage turned deadly. Detectives confirmed Alicia's co-workers' texts were harmless, professional messages. But to Dwayne, they were proof of betrayal. Security footage showed the couple entering their room at 9:47 p.m., and only Dwayne leaving hours later, disoriented and barefoot. In court, prosecutors described the killing as a crime of obsession. Dwayne's lawyer pleaded temporary insanity, claiming his jealousy blinded him. But the jury saw the evidence. The bruises, the knife, and his chilling words, "I didn't mean to hurt her." After just 3 hours of deliberation, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty of murder. The judge called it a senseless act born from control, not love. Dwayne Campbell was sentenced to life in prison, with parole possible after 25 years. As the verdict was read, Alicia's mother wept quietly. "She wanted forever," she whispered. But forever ended in 5 days. The Coral Sands resort shut down for weeks after the tragedy. Tourists canceled bookings, and locals whispered about the honeymoon room. Room 214 was never rented again. In Jamaica, Alicia's funeral drew hundreds. Her casket was covered in white lilies, her favorite flower. The hospital where she worked held a candlelight vigil, calling for awareness of domestic violence. What was meant to be a celebration of love became a symbol of warning. Dwayne adjusted poorly to prison life. Guards said he spent hours staring at the sea through his cell window. He refused visits, even from family. When asked if he regretted it, he said softly, "Every second. But regret doesn't bring her back." He became withdrawn, a man haunted by the woman he swore to love forever. Years later, the resort was renamed and remodeled, but staff still avoided mentioning the Campbells. Guests sometimes claimed they heard faint crying from room 214. Stories the management quickly dismissed. Locals still talk about it. Love can turn dangerous when it's built on fear. Alicia's sister started a charity in her name,